Good evening and welcome to the January 17th meeting of the City of Summit Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Joe Steiner and I'm the chair of the Zoning Board for this year. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In accordance with New Jersey State Statute 10:4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to a newspaper of record and has been posted here in City Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. For the benefit of the interested public, this meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube page and also broadcast on Summit's government channel, which is Comcast 34 and Verizon Channel 30. There's also a transcript of this meeting being taken, utilizing the video and audio, so we need all speakers to use one of the microphones in the room. Please note that the fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room where you entered. The city also has an assisted listening system to help the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais and return it thereafter. Ms. Sulios, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Chairman Steiner?
Here.
Vice Chairman Loikitz?
Here.
Mr. Yuko?
Here.
Mr. Nelson?
Here.
Ms. Zahn?
Here.
Mr. Curran is excused. Mr. Malay?
Here.
Ms. Toth?
Here.
Ms. Chifo?
Here.
Mr. Feskins?
Here.
Mr. Chinchuli?
Here.
You have a quorum. You may proceed.
Thank you. Andy Ball is the city's zoning board attorney. However, tonight Zach Stasinski is filling in for Andy, and he's directly to my right. He will advise the board members on matters of law, and Andy and his firm are the key interface with the applicant's attorneys. The attorney does not vote on the applications. The woman you just met, Stephanie Sulios, is a city employee and is the zoning board secretary. Ms. Sulios works with the applicants on preparing their applications, planning our agendas, and keeping our meeting minutes. Stephanie does not vote on the applications. Also present is Marie Raffe, our board's engineer, who is seated at the table to our right, the audience's left. She will provide input to the board and also does not vote on the applications. Our board consists of 7 regular members and up to 4 alternates. All members can participate in the hearings tonight, but a maximum of 7 can vote. Most applications require a simple majority to be approved. Each case will begin with the applicant or their attorney giving an overview of the application and what has happened to date and the variances that they believe are required. We then hear from any additional expert witnesses that the applicant may have to help explain the application and why the variances are needed. The board members may ask questions of the applicant, their attorney, and the expert witnesses. Once the board members and the board's professionals have completed their questioning, the public has the opportunity to ask questions. This is not the time that you should be telling us what you think of the application. This is an opportunity that will come a bit later. Before you ask your questions, please clearly state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address. It is important that our court reporter be able to keep a clear and accurate public record. After the witnesses have been heard, members of the audience have their second opportunity to speak, and that's the time that you may express your opinion, positive or negative, about the application. Then the public hearing is closed, and we enter into what's called executive session, where the board members will discuss the case and vote. You will be able to listen to our executive session, but you will not normally be able to participate in our discussion. Krista Anderson, the city zoning officer, has asked that we remind all applicants that they must read carefully the resolution that documents the zoning board's decision, and to pay particular attention to conditions contained in that resolution. For example, if landscaping plan is required, you have to obtain one and submit it to John Linson, who is the city's forester. If a grading plan is required, you must get one, have it prepared by a civil engineer, and submit 3 copies along with the application fee to the city's engineering division. Failure to satisfy all the conditions in a resolution will result in a delay in approving your application, and it will cause extra work for the city zoning staff. The resolutions documenting the board's decision will normally be available 1 month after we decide the case. When I call your name, please come to the podium and tell us how many witnesses you have and whether or not you think you can complete your case within approximately 30 minutes. But before we do that, is anyone here for 223 Kent Place Boulevard? Okay, let the record show that no one has indicated they are here. We have received an email from their attorney requesting that the board accept their decision to withdraw that application, so that application will not be heard tonight. I don't think we have to take a motion on that at all. We can just announce it, and that's it. So now, 155 Canoe Brook Parkway. Is anyone here for that?
Hello, I'm Nancy Del Pizzo from 155 Canoe Brook Parkway, and I'm here with my architect, Jack Kelly.
Okay, and do you have any witnesses? He's your,
Just my expert architect.
okay, you have an architect with you. Do you think you can complete it in 30 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good answer. We'll call you first, but let's hear the others. Brett and Amanda Newman from 16 Edgewood.
Hello. We are here with our architect.
Name and
I'm
address.
sorry, Brett Newman and Amanda Newman, 16 Edgewood Road, and we're here with our architect, Dave Rosen.
Okay, and you think it'll be about 30 minutes?
Yes.
Or longer? Which one? Knowing Dave?
Shorter than 30 minutes.
Shorter than, okay. Well, so you'll be the second one on our list. And then Steve and Solange Burgermeister. Did I get that anywhere close?
Hi, Stephen Solange, Burgermeister, 19 Oakley Ave, and we're here with our architect, David Rosen, as well.
Welcome to the David Rosen Show. Okay.
And we'll be done in 30 minutes.
You think you'll be done in 30 minutes? Okay.
Got 3 kids to come.
David has his work cut out for him tonight. Okay, thank you. So let's go ahead and begin with 155 Canoe Brook Parkway. Okay, we'll begin by swearing you in.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your first name and spell your last name for the record.
Nancy Del Pizzo, capital D-E-L, and there's a space, capital P-I-Z-Z-O.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you explain to us what your project's about and what you hope to accomplish today, and give us a little bit of background, and then I'm assuming you're going to want to turn it over to your architect to carry the heavy water.
Sure. First, I want to thank you all for hearing our application, especially tonight with the weather that we're having. As I said, my name is Nancy Del Pizzo. My wife and I, Carol Soroselli, have lived at 155 Canoe Brook Parkway for about 27 years. We love Summit. We love our neighbors. We have really great neighbors. We're in a 1940s house, and we'd like to do some minor improvements so that the two of us can stand in the kitchen at the same time. And maybe we can get one car in our garage. The one of us who has the shoe problem can, find some closet space. So it's not him, no. I'm happy to answer any of your questions, but I would turn it over to my architect, Jack Kelly, to explain the project in more detail than I can.
Okay, any questions for the applicant from here, from the board? See any from our professional? No. We will then ask you to swear in our
Yes.
expert.
Mr. Kelly, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your first name and spell your last name for the record.
Jack Kelly, Kelly.
I'm aware that you previously appeared before this board as an expert. Have your credentials changed since your last appearance?
They have not.
Would the board like to accept Mr. Kelly as an expert?
Your license is
My
current.
license is still
It's the one thing they make me ask. Okay, I think we will accept your credentials. One thing I am going to suggest to the experts, to all the experts in the room, there is a new microphone over there that's a handheld.
Not
If you're
this?
going to work on the, work next to your things, please use that one because it'll pick up better than that one there. That one doesn't. If you're going to use those drawings, we may not hear you.
Okay. Is this detachable?
Yes, it's totally
You have
detachable.
to turn it on.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. We're trying to get yeah, now you know
What?
what part of the problem is.
Okay, as Nancy said, the house is built in 1943. It's on 155 Newburgh Parkway, and it's located in the R10 zone. Nancy and Carol have a beautiful piece of property. It's 20,000 square feet, which is a nice piece of property in the R10 zone. The issue is that the project, you can see from our drawing, the site plan drawing here, that the shape of the property is rather narrow and is rather long. So we are here for two variances, both having to do with side yard setbacks. We're here for an individual side yard setback, and we're here for the combined side yard setbacks. Another factor just to start with is you can see that the house is parallel with the street, and the property lines are clearly not parallel with the street. So that is a little bit of why we're here for the two side yard setbacks, because of the angle of the property versus the orientation of the house. We are seeking, as she mentioned, to just improve this house in a few key ways. They have a very small kitchen at the moment, so we're proposing an addition in the rear, which will enlarge that kitchen. And on top of that addition, on the second floor of the addition, we are proposing a second bathroom. The house has one bathroom on the first floor, second floor, 3 bedrooms and 1 bath. And they're seeking 3 bedrooms and 2 baths, so they have a private bath and then a hall bath. The 2-story addition in the rear of the house requires no variances. Just want to put that on the record. Second addition is an addition on the right to expand their garage. Their garage is barely a 1-car garage. It's about 10 feet wide. You can get a small car into the garage. It's not that easy to open the car door and get out of your car. So we're hoping to expand the width of that garage by 4 feet. It's still going to remain a 1-car garage, but at least there's room for the car, and there's room to exit your car, and there's room for garbage cans and bicycles and other things that are stored in the garage. So that's a small addition to the right. That addition does require a variance for combined side yards. The side yard on the right will be 16 feet, where 12 is required, but the side yard on the left is only 9.7, where 12 is required. So we're a little bit shy of the combined side yards. The requirement, as you know, is 35%. Those 2 side yards equal 32.5%. So we're just 2.5% shy of what is required. That's addition number 2. So improved kitchen, number 1, improved garage, so they can put a car away. They have 2 cars, they both sit in the driveway all the time because they literally can't get the car in and get out of their car. I don't know what kind of cars they had in the 40s, but I guess they didn't put them in the garage. We're also proposing an addition on the left side of the house on the second floor to expand the master suite and to provide some closets. This house has minimal closets, one small closet in each room. And so we're trying to bring that up to today's standards as well. The addition on the left requires the same variance that I just mentioned. I'm sorry, it requires two. It requires an individual side yard setback because it's 9.7 rather than 12. And it requires the combined side yard that I mentioned before for the same reason. 16 on the right, 9.7 on the left equals 25.7, and that's a little bit shy of what we need. Well, if we had a compliance, it would be 27.5. So the variances are 1.8 feet. If you look at, I can move. If you look at sheet V1, which is a site plan that shows the improvements, you'll see the tiny triangle on the left, which is the piece that violates the side yard setback. Most of the addition, 90% of the house and the addition comply, except for that small triangle on the left. Again, I think that's mainly due to the width of the lot. It's a little bit narrower than the standard for R10. And again, the orientation of the house versus the orientation of the property lines. So those are the additions and the variances. I think these would be great improvements for this house. It's a little bit unusual, I have to say, to add 3 additions in 3 different spots. But we were trying to solve some specific deficiencies in this house. And I think the overall effect is a great improvement. Should I take a break, or should I address a few things that Krista has mentioned or other people have mentioned?
Yes, go ahead and do that, is right there.
Okay. So she, of course, mentions the air conditioner. Nancy has informed me, and I guess Krista checked, as she does, that they replaced the air conditioner in 2016. Is that correct? So they got a permit to replace the unit with a new unit in 2016. The unit is on the left side of the house, right there by the chimney, and it is currently screened with 3 or 4 boxwoods that are about 3 feet tall. And we are also proposing a fence to screen it from the street. I have to be honest, her comment on all of that was a little confusing, but I think we satisfy what she's looking for. We have dense screening. It's green all year round. It's over 3 feet tall, I would say. And we're going to add a little fence in front of it to screen the view from the street. It does encroach on the side yard by 1 foot, but that's allowed.
What about her comment about the some landscaping? She's not quite sure which property it's on, some of the screening, I mean. Maybe the applicant knows.
She does, because I asked her to take a photograph for me.
I think she was talking about the landscaping to the left of the path going into the yard. And my neighbors and I, we don't know whose it is, so we just assume it's on the property line.
Mr. Steiner, this is new. I didn't submit this.
Okay,
I
so
can
we'll
submit
mark it as
tonight
A1.
If you want. There isn't a lot. So it's in that photo on the right. The landscaping between the 2 properties is a couple trees and a couple shrubs. There's more landscaping around the air conditioners than there is between the 2 properties. I
Okay,
think
those pictures were taken when and by whom and
Nancy took these
I took them yesterday.
yesterday, and they fairly represent what you're attempting to.
Yes, so
Okay.
we had filed a photograph which shows the boxwoods and also a holly that fairly screen it from the road and from their left neighbor. Mr. Uko, I thought what she was trying to say was, if you have screening within 10 feet of the unit, then it's screened. I think that's what that says, but
Yeah, I think
we
she's
have
asking-
screening immediately around it.
Yeah, she was, I think, asking about the nature of the screening, but also, maybe her point, wondering whose screening some of that was, could the neighbor remove it, and then
I see.
if it's neighbors, then there'd be less screening.
But really, in reality, those two trees are quite tall and the leaves are high, and they're not screening.
Yeah,
I wouldn't call them screening.
yeah.
They're mature trees. But I think the intent of screening the unit is been accomplished.
Okay.
I don't know what else we could do.
Do you have any other comments on Krista or anything else?
I think the engineer,
Well, Marie will catch you up on those in a minute, I'm sure.
Well, there was a question about a revision to the.
yes.
Yeah.
So Andrew Clark is the civil engineer, and he prepared the grading plan. We received a letter from Stephanie saying that they wanted some more information on his plan, and mainly the only difference is that they wanted each one of the additions labeled. He had hatched them with a hatch on the drawing, but he had not put words on the drawing describing them. So that there was no material change to anything on the site except those words were added.
So it's just a matter of labeling.
Correct. So labeling, and then we refiled the revised copy with Stephanie's office.
Yeah, that was kind of my question,
Have
too.
we
if you don't mind.
received that? We have it, but
Yes, that's in
the
the
board
plan,
doesn't
right?
have it.
Sorry?
That was what was submitted, you're saying, right?
We
Yeah, that
yes,
was
we
with the-
submitted
yeah.
that later
But-
after we received your letter.
But as the board has not seen it,
No,
they're
you guys-
presenting it tonight, so it's A2.
No, that's not it. No, this was with the filing, so we had deemed it incomplete.
Correct. She
And
deemed
then-
it incomplete, then we filed it, and then we were complete.
Yes.
Okay.
So just for clarification, what is the revision date on the
November.
plan?
November 15, 23.
Yeah, I think Chris's point was that the version we have in front of us tonight
Yeah.
is, she couldn't find a difference between what we have tonight and the first one she saw. And she was wondering what the revision was. I think that's what her question is.
Okay, so it was the labeling.
They
of the
requested the
addition.
revision, so
Okay.
we made it.
My experts are happy on that.
What else?
Before we go on, can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
And this goes to what you were just talking about, the revision. Looking at the plan, I just have the grading plan in front of me. The right side of the garage where it says proposed addition, is that,
Those
should be
words.
hatched in and all that stuff, or no? No, if you're looking at that, yeah, to the proposed conditions.
It has a crosshatch on it, and it has words next to it.
Okay, because there's also an arrow that says proposed addition to like a rectangular box. Is that the addition for the garage?
That is correct.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, Marie, let me go to you for your,
Can I ask Mr. Kelly?
Did you die?
All right, I'll stick
so
with
use
this one.
that one for now.
Okay,
That
I'll
one.
just stay here.
Could you talk about that chain link fence in the backyard? It appears that it's going
Yes.
on to another property. Could you talk about that?
I'm going to let Nancy talk about it, but yes, I asked Nancy to take a photo of that.
I
as
took
well.
pictures of that one, too. So we've had a chain link fence for about 20 years. Didn't know it was across the property line until you referenced it. And I took a walk out there because I don't recall ever that being an issue. I do know that when we put the fence up, we told the guys putting the fence up, we want to make sure our dogs can't get out. So what I think happened, because I took a walk back there's a big tree, and then there's a root that goes from that tree, it's above the ground, to the fence. I think they just followed the edge of the root instead of going on the root. Yeah, so that's what I think happened.
I think they went beyond the tree and the root, and that's why the fence encroaches on the neighbor's property.
Mhm.
Has your neighbor been contacted about this?
The neighbor who was there when the fence was put up is no longer there. So the answer is no for this particular neighbor that's still there.
We're going to have to address this somehow.
Joe, I'm not sure that's purview for this. I would defer to our counsel.
If we,
I would tend to agree, I would tend to agree with that. That's on the purview of the application.
all right, we usually try to clean things like that up. Okay. All right.
Can I just ask a question about that?
Sure.
So somebody moved into that house how long ago? There had to be a survey done. I would assume,
Oh, when-
right?
Yeah,
So either they're aware of it or they're not, or they don't care, so.
no one has approached
Or
us.
they think it's their fence.
Right.
I mean, I just found out, I have a fence that's on my neighbor's property. It's been there for 29 years that I've owned the house, and I just found out, so.
The
Right.
neighbor may actually think it's part of the property that's, where your fence is set in is part of their property as
Correct.
well.
Yeah.
Joe, the reason I mentioned this is more of a title issue
Mm-hmm.
than a zoning issue. If it was a retaining wall that would be part of our purview,
Mm-hmm.
then I would, defer again to council. But because
It's
it's
okay.
been there for 20-plus years.
That's why we have attorneys and you guys.
Exactly.
That's why we have you. Okay. Marie, are we,
Yeah, and just confirm that you're not proposing any grading changes on the property?
Not really, because the addition in the rear replaces the patio. The patio's flat, so we're putting an addition where the patio is coming out. And the other two additions are on the second floor, and the addition to the right for the garage replaces a walkway. So that is also, it's covered with a brick walkway at the moment. So in reality, there is no grading changes.
Okay,
He's correct.
all right. I have no further questions then.
you're adding 3 additions to one property. Are there any water issues, drainage? Where's the water that's going to come onto these particular additions going to go?
I'm not aware that they have any water, do you have any water issues?
Whether or not there are, but could it create any? Are the downspouts going to cover everything that comes in?
I would think so, yes. I mean, remember, 2 of the additions are on the second floor, so we're just going up. It's the same amount of water. And the increase in lot coverage is, I think, 24 square feet or something, because it's all covered. The patio is there and the walkway is there. So the net increase in lot coverage is minimal, and there is a small increase in roof area, yes, because of the additions that sit on the ground, but they should be able to handle that with the roof drains.
But there have been no water issues in the area, from this property?
She's been there for 27 years.
Right, okay.
But an increase in roof area would go along with a linear increase of gutters, correct?
Yes,
Capture the rain.
but it's under the threshold. In other words, if you're suggesting stormwater management or something, it's under the threshold where it is required.
Mr. Kelly, based on your experience in Summit, would you say the majority of homes in this town are parallel to the side yards and not some particular skewed angle?
Depends. In certain parts of town, yes. All the lots are rectangular, all the streets are straight, all the houses are lined up, like Plymouth Road and Ashland Road and Linden Place and Oakland Place and that whole neighborhood and parts of her neighborhood that were built in the 50s and 60s, where all the houses are set back. They are parallel with the sides and the front. But there's other parts of town where it's not true.
If
I don't know if that's an answer or not.
If this house was rotated and parallel to the side yards?
I tried it,
Would it be in conformance?
almost.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Well, it's almost,
Yeah, we tried it on paper.
if I'm
Mr.
not
Kelly, when you
mistaken,
say
it's almost now, right?
What does that mean? What wouldn't be in compliance if you say almost?
In other words, if you take the width of this property and you come into 12 and you come into 12, he's asking, I think, sorry,
Yes.
is the house appropriately sized for this piece of property? And I think the answer is yes. It's within, I think it's less than 2 feet. It would be 2 feet too wide. But remember, the lot width is 78, where it's required to be 90, or should be 90. So I think,
If it were 90, it would comply.
But on the zoning information, on page V1, it says the required lot width is 75 feet.
Sorry, I misspoke, 75. You're
Thank
right.
you. Any other questions from the board?
I have a question that's not, I don't know if it's not, I guess, strictly zoning, but if this were a new construction, it would have, the house would have to have a front-facing door, a street-facing door. And I realize it's not a new construction and that the side door is grandfathered in, but there's so much work being done on so many parts of the house that I wonder whether you have given any thought to taking that small window and, you know, I know you had a entry, like a foyer closet, but maybe swapping the door and the window so that you have a straight-on front entrance for the street, just with the addition, the house is gonna have like a little more mass. I was just thinking that aesthetically, it might be nice to have a front-facing door.
Are you saying front-facing front door or
Front-facing
front-facing
front
garage
door.
door? Okay.
Yeah, not garage door, I know the garage door is facing front, but your entry door is a side door, which is pre-existing, but
I
it
think
looks like
it's
with
actually,
moving-
I think it's actually charming.
Agreed.
It's a little different. Yes, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Definitely different.
I don't know, Nancy, you could have your own
And it's
opinion.
grandfathered, so,
What's that?
Don?
Just a silly question for you. On the current drawing of the house, the way the house is now, from the brick walk on the right-hand side where there's a side porch?
There's
Into the house?
a side door, yeah.
Yeah. What's the distance from the porch to the property line? Do you know? It's not on the plan. And I'm curious because is it the same now as it will be with the addition of the garage? Or is that where you're asking for this, because the garage is wider, is there,
It's the same.
it's the same?
The addition to the garage replaces that walkway and the steps and the
Yeah, I just
landing.
didn't
And the landing.
see a distance there. Thank you very much.
Anything from this side? Questions? Okay, is there anything else that you feel you need to present at this point?
Nancy?
Okay, at this point, we will open it up to the public for questions of the architect. Does anybody have any questions for the architect? If you do, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll do the same thing, but this time for anyone who wishes to make a comment in reference to this application. Anyone wish to make a comment? Okay, seeing none, I will ask if you have any final comments or statements to make to the board at this point.
Just thank you again. I appreciate your time.
Okay. At this point, I will ask our attorney for any conditions and vote requirements.
So the vote requirements for this application is a majority vote. The conditions are compliance with the conditions listed in the board engineer's memo, and as stated by Mr. Kelly, the applicant will construct a fence to screen the view from the street and the left neighbor view.
With the air conditioner?
For the air conditioning, with regard to the air conditioner,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Who would like to open up the discussion for executive session?
I will.
Okay.
I actually was walking by the house to get some pictures, and there's a lot of screening on the street, so I had to kind of like get in. So it's, you cannot see the house as much from certain parts of the street, because I guess you have some trees in the front, so I think it's a good thing. I think these improvements are great. I think they are, the house does, has a small presence on the property and can withstand these additions that you're doing. And I also read that you are going to be using similar materials, so it's not going to change the look of the house. So I agree with this.
I can support it as well. The individual side yard variances are existing non-conforming. The side yard percentage is a variance, but it's not an onerous one. And the overall scale of the project is in keeping with the neighborhood, neighborhood style and size. The forester has no objections about any of the screening. The Historic Preservation Commission has no objections regarding the scale or the nature of the project. The engineer didn't indicate the need for any stormwater management, so I don't think there's anything you need to do that. So yeah, I like the project. It's an improvement to the house and to the neighborhood. I can support it as well.
And I can just add that I think expanding the garage is in fact enhances the safety. You've got at least one car garaged, against weather, against miscreants. So I think that that's a smart addition to the property, and I too can support this application.
Scott, you have anything to add?
I too can support this application. I believe that this property is hamstrung by the geometry of the site, and it sounds like it would be practically conforming were it parallel to the side yards. And I'm always open-minded when it comes to sites that have very peculiar site conditions that exacerbate non-conformance. So with that, I can approve this.
Okay. I can also say that I didn't see any negatives, and I saw a lot of positives for the family, and I saw some safety issues that are indeed positive towards this application. And based upon the comments I've heard in executive session, I would look for a motion to approve this application.
I'll move to approve with the conditions as noted.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Chairman Steiner?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz?
Yes.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Ms. Zahn?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, congratulations, and again,
Thank you.
we tell you to read the resolution. We keep hearing that, I keep saying it. And we will move on to the next one.
Yes.
I cannot believe I've been there for 7 years.
Those closets.
And one bathroom.
Which is 16 Edgewood Road. Oh, David is going to use, are you using the, oh, okay. That answers your question on the audio room.
Bring his own mic.
David, we did not test it before you got here.
Is the outlet in here?
The what?
Yes, you have to flip it up.
Oh, goodness.
There's one under the podium where you could just plug it in under the podium. Or no?
This,
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to do it in there.
there's no, that's not a plug.
He's looking for
I think
electric.
there's power.
If you can reach this building.
There should be one in these circular ones. They used to be. I don't know if there are anymore. There you go. You're up, David. All right, let's go ahead and swear in the applicants if we can.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your first name and spell your last name for the record.
Brett Newman, N-E-W-M-A-N.
Amanda Newman, N-E-W-M-A-N.
Thank you.
Okay, can you give us a quick outline of what it is you're planning to do and what variances you understand you need to receive? And
Certainly. So we've, first I want to say thank you for taking the time to consider our application. We've lived at 16 Edgewood since we moved to Summit 2.5 years ago, and it's both Amanda and I and our 2 children. We're looking to modernize the house, really, for a family without changing the older historical parts of the house that we really love. And when we bought this house in 2021, it was actually in the middle of COVID. It was at a time when most houses weren't even making it to listing before they would sell. Multiple bidders. This house actually sat on the market for 6 months, and we were the only bidder at the end of the day. And it's because of some of the challenges with the home that we're now trying to address, really to make it functional, because we'd like it to be a fantastic house for decades to come, but again, preserving really the historical elements of it that we love. So the 3 issues with the house that we're trying to address are, 1, the house really doesn't have what would be considered today modern layout of the kitchen, mudroom, washroom on the first floor. And then the house is really divided. It was last renovated about 25 years ago with a family room and some kitchen updates, but the house is almost divided in 2. There's the newer part towards the back, which is really a more functional area of the house, and then there's the older historical part, only connected really by a narrow hallway. And I think that really presents some challenges in terms of the functionality of the house. And then finally, this is the first house on Edgewood Road after the Fortnightly Club, so it's right next to Twin Maples, which is a non-residential house. And I think over time, the area of the house that we're looking to address was basically almost hidden because it's next to the Fortnightly Club being non-residential, and it really doesn't present from the street as welcoming as we would like it to, in terms of being the first house into the neighborhood and in terms of just, again, the curb appeal and whatnot. So what we're doing to address those 3 items are, 1, a small addition in the back, which will allow for a mudroom and a new washroom. And then the second is to bring the kitchen forward a few feet, which really allows the back of the house to connect to the front and just have more of an integration so that the house really feels like one connected space. And then finally, just more for aesthetic purposes, we're looking to extend the front porch, which really is centered down the house towards the Fortnightly Club to the area of the addition, just to create a more welcoming presence in that corner of the house. Today it's HVAC equipment, it's a lot of landscaping, and when you approach the house and drive down Edgewood from Springfield, again, you can't really tell that it's there. And so it's really just to be a more welcoming presence for the house, the neighborhood. And again, overall, we're just looking for it to be more functional. But we love the house and all the historical elements, and the plans incorporate those. So that's really it. And again, we appreciate your time and consideration.
Any questions from the board? Okay, then, and I'm assuming you wish to call your first witness, which would be Mr. Rosen.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are giving this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your first name and spell your last name for the record.
Dave Rosen, R-O-S-E-N, partner at Rosen, Kelly, Conway Architects.
Mr. Rosen, I'm aware that you've appeared before this board before as an expert. Have your credentials changed since your last appearance?
No.
Is your license current?
Yes.
Would the board accept?
Okay, we accept those credentials, and David, it's all yours.
First, I want to hand Stephanie the hard copies of a couple of the notifications to the neighbors. Okay, so I have the images up on the screen. I'm just going to come in on the front and just show you a few things. Second here. These photos, as it says here, with the exception of the season, these were taken in July 2022 by David Fernandez in our office. It does represent essentially what's there, although the paint color has changed. So what we're looking at here, it's a little difficult to see in this photo, but toward the left, you can see that there's there's a birch tree and some other plants on the side, and the porch just stops. Those trees are there to because they're concealing the part of the house that was originally sort of servants' quarters and the kitchen and so on, so that the part of the house to the right of, sort of to the right of the middle here, this was all meant originally as family space, and this area over here was really more of a servant wing on the house. And so the exterior of the house represents the difference in the social status of the people in the various parts. That's not the case now, where you can look at it as either they're all family or they're all servants, but in any case, we want to unify this, and part of the plan, as Brett just described, is to bring this porch across in front of this part of the house so that there's more, it's more unified, and then continue some of the decorative woodwork that you can see at the front of the porch along the side on the driveway, and then wrap it around the back where the new mudroom will be. And the other thing that we're doing, so we'll have a little porch. We'll continue the porch that's there across to the left, and then we have an addition of the kitchen where we're extending the kitchen a little bit farther forward. And the reason for that, as Brett mentioned, is that this house, when they bought it, there were no other offers on the house at a time when, during COVID, when all houses were selling. But it didn't sell, I think, because people found that the original part of the house, which is beautiful, was barely connected to the part on the left side and to the back. 20-something years ago, an addition was done, the kitchen was redone, a family room was added out to the back, but they didn't connect the two parts of the house. You can't really see from one to the other. It was meant more as the original separation so that servants and the family were kept a little bit separate. Our goal is to open it up much more, and so the small addition coming toward the front, just on the first floor, on the left side, sort of this area on the left of the front of the house, that's in order to be able to enable us to be able to have access, so when you come in the foyer, the house is not all the formal historical part to the right and the informal, the part that were added, kitchen, breakfast area, family room, which are toward the back and the left side. So we're going to be unifying that. Looking at a couple of other things on this that'll become important. When we look at the back of the house, this is the area where you can see that there's a little back door. There's a little, sort of a tiny mudroom over here. This part was all added, and this gazebo was added 20-something years ago. So this is family room and the primary bedroom suite. But they didn't really do anything on this whole side of the house. And so that's what we're here for. Just one other photo I just want to show, in sort of straight on from the back. And then this is the garage. And one of the variants, actually 3 of the variances, we need 4 variances for this project. I'll go into those in a moment. But 3 of them are affected by the size of this garage. Building coverage, lot coverage, and floor area ratio are all affected by this. And in fact, the floor area ratio that's within this garage is more than the amount of the variance that we're seeking. So, so just continuing on, let's take a look at in what was submitted for the project narrative. A review of several things here. So the variances, I just want to point out, and again, I think it was mentioned that this house is 1903. Krista, now becoming more of a history buff, is telling more information about when Summit had its first ordinance. So that around 1922, 23. So this certainly predates that. I don't expect you to read it off of this, but I just wanted to show you. So the variances are for combined side yards, and it's unchanged. If you looked at that photo in the front, the right side has not changed, the left side has not changed, but we are extending toward the front and toward the back. But the statistic is unchanged. So it's supposed to be 51 feet or 40% of the width of the property. It's 32.3. It stays 32.3. We need a variance because we are extending toward the front and toward the back, maintaining that side there. And where we're adding is, it's not a side yard setback. We're required to have 17 feet on that side, and we have 25 feet on that side. And the neighbor on that side, on the left side of the house, is the Fortnightly Club. So it's not adversely imposing on any residential neighbor on that side. So the combined is just simply a fact of how the house was originally built. The right side plus the left side don't meet the current standards. Next one is building coverage, and the building coverage, as I mentioned, is affected by the house, the porches, the patio, the garage, etc. We're increasing by 1.25%, as you can see over here. It's the allowable maximum is 14%. It's a little over 16 and a quarter-ish, and it's going to 17.5%. So that one is a slight increase, and the reasons for it I can get into later, but it does make the house much more attractive, and it makes the house much more usable, and it corrects a major what I'll say is a major flaw in the way that this house, not the way it was originally built, but it just hasn't been pulled together to be one house. Like many houses, if they're not joined together, people use either the formal parts or the informal. And the goal on this is to have the house feel like it's one house. The third variance is lot coverage, and there is no change to the statistic. We are changing, let's make that a little bigger, we are changing what comprises that lot coverage, but the number 9,776 square feet stays exactly the same, 36.22 stays the same, and we're doing some things with the lot coverage that Krista Anderson mentions in her comments, things like we are, in order to accommodate the addition to the house, we're reducing the driveway. She had asked whether we could make the driveway more conforming in the width, because it widens out quite a bit within the front yard part. We are removing some other things in order to make sure that that stays in balance. So there's no increase there, but we are making a substantial improvement to not only this property, but to the neighborhood and the adjoining properties, in particular the Fortnightly Club, which is slightly downhill from this, in that we are providing stormwater management for 1,800 square feet, which is a little bit more than the difference between the 36.22 and the maximum that would normally be allowed of 30%. So the statistics say it's the same. We're increasing the amount of stormwater management by more than the difference going back all the way to the allowable. And then the last thing is floor area ratio. There's a slight increase. We're just under 25%. We're at 25.86 with the addition. So the variance is 0.86. Of that, Krista mentions that 3.7 or 3.8%, I think, is in the garage of floor area. That's both the expanded first floor of the garage. I'm sorry, it's bigger than what a normal garage would be. We're not adding anything to the garage. And it has that whole second floor area. So if the question, which usually comes up in floor area ratio, is can the property withstand the additional development? I think the answer is clearly yes. And so if we look at this, a variance of under 1% and no change to the combined side yards, a slight increase in building coverage, and the lot coverage, no increase, and we are adding all the stormwater management. So I'm going to go on to the Krista Anderson's comments, but I'll just pause for a second to see if anybody has any questions on what I've outlined so far. Okay, so Krista Anderson has all of the exact same things with some of the interesting history pieces, and she mentioned some other things, particularly in this lot coverage, about circular drives. This property has a circular drive where the width should be 12 feet. We are pulling some of that. We're adjusting some of the curbs. We're reducing some of that paving area. We're also removing, it says, although the existing circular drive was presumably installed at the time the house was constructed, the applicant should be encouraged to reduce the width of the circular driveway, especially in the area where the existing landscape island is proposed to be removed. And that's what we're doing. We removed that landscape island, there was so much paving that they just put a circle with some plants in there. We've narrowed the driveway, eliminated that. Building coverage, she indicates that on the building coverage, 3.8% is in the garage, and floor area ratio, 3.75% is in the garage. And then there are some other notes going back to a resolution from 1999 and talking about the use of the carriage house or the garage. It is not an apartment. There is a bathroom, there's some rooms there, but it's not for overnight accommodation. And then she mentions at the back of the garage, there's an air conditioner for that building, and that it does not meet the current requirements. This is a hard to see drawing.
You want to take a break?
I'm going to go get it. Thanks, Todd.
We'll take a 2-minute recess.
Sorry, George, we'll step on your toes.
I don't. We try to stay as informal as I can.
Okay, hopefully I'm better with that. Anyway, in the back of the garage, there's a pad with an air conditioner. It's closer to the property line than air conditioners are supposed to be. Anyway, so going back to Krista's, that's pretty much all of it. She says that we can acknowledge that as a part of this. Just going into the...
By acknowledge that, would you like us to add a variance for the air conditioning location? Is that kind of what you're
I think that that's totally up to you, how you want to handle that administratively.
I think we should.
We certainly agree if that's what you'd like to do. On V1, same as what you have. It just shows the area with a hatch here, which is the porch, the area in here, which is the extension of the kitchen, and then where the existing house has sort of a sawtooth wall at the back. That gets straightened out, and that's where the mudroom is. There were other staff comments, in particular the HPC endorses the proposed changes. The new addition is appropriate size, scale, and all materials will match. This is an appropriate addition for the North Side Historic District. No objections. John Linson mentions, I'm not sure where his is, but he said there could be more screening on the left side of the property, I guess so that the people in the Fortnightly Club parking lot have a nicer view, but that's of course fine with us. There was a question among the engineering comments about the height of the curb. We're just sort of straightening out a portion of the driveway, and in doing so, we're really just sort of doing a slightly more substantial curb. It is only 7 inches high. I think that was your question. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not really a wall, but it's referred to on the drawing as that. Sorry. I don't think that there's much more, but I'm just going to go through the engineering comments. Number 5, I have said that there are no improvements or changes to the property since the date of the survey. The project narrative, I think that I've confirmed most of this in the discussion. Number 8 just goes into the variances. Grading plan, number 10, the engineer will provide that if it's not on there yet. I can confirm number 11 that we are adding 337 square feet of building coverage, keeping in mind that includes the front porch and the additions. And then, although there's no net increase in impervious coverage, we're providing the dry well, as mentioned, for 1,800 square feet of roof runoff. I believe that none is required. Was that right?
That's correct. No, no, you don't, because you don't have any additional impervious coverage.
Right.
Correct.
Right, but we're doing that anyway. I think it's the right thing. It's the right thing to do because stormwater management is one of the major things that can adversely affect not only immediate neighbors, but anybody downhill or downstream. And I know that there's been some discussion in the neighborhood on Springfield Avenue and Essex Road and so on about stormwater runoff. Just continuing on.
Could you just confirm
Yes.
which portion of the roof that you're?
Yes, it's indicated on Pete Corzin's drawing. There is a line through the middle. Up in here it says the limit of tributary roof area to the dry well. So he's got a line that sort of follows the ridge. So it's essentially the whole driveway side of the house.
Okay, so the remaining part, the original part of the house that's not being collected, that is not going into this
Correct.
dry well,
What
right?
we wanted to do is to take the areas, and this is the driveway going back to the carriage house. So this is the left side of the house. The Fortnightly is up at the top of the screen here. You can see by these contour lines that the runoff would go that way. And so we took all of the roof water from the left side of the house and we're directing it in a pipe here and back to the dry well. And the purpose of that is to make sure that the more exposed side of the house, the area where it would naturally run off, that's the part that's being contained. Does that answer your?
Yes.
Okay.
Marie, as long as we're on you, why don't you pick up all the rest, anything else you have?
I do, yeah. I think he's going to talk about the next one. I wanted to ask him something about that. So I've looked over the calculations for the dry wells. I don't take any issue with it. That's fine. He's going to put a locking cover on top, which makes it good for inspections and regular maintenance. I think those are all adequate.
Yeah, so the item 13, so there is a a slate patio in the back of the house. Let me just see if I can get a better drawing showing that. So this is where that, in gray, this is that patio. I think that when it was built, and this addresses one of Krista's comments about why some numbers may be different from 25 years ago to today. And I don't know the specifics, but this patio, the threshold is 12 inches, and this patio may be 13 inches above the ground. And I think that the ground may have just sort of subsided a bit, just gotten more compact. We didn't change it. Obviously, once the survey was done, the topographic survey, that's what it was. But by adding essentially an inch of dirt around the perimeter of the patio, it's still lot coverage, but it's not building coverage. So that we're just trying to work with that in order to make that building coverage statistic a little bit better.
So, so the note says on there that you're doing proposed grading, but it sounds to me.
Well, yes, technically it is, but it's in inches, maybe 1 or 2 inches. We're not going to cover there's the patio, there's a step, and then you're on the lawn. And I don't even know what the ground level was originally underneath where the patio is or any of that. But right now, there's about 13, 14 inches. It's not perfect, but so it had to count in building coverage. We're covering all of the impervious surface part, but I think that's the, is that a sufficient answer?
Yes, so does that make sense to the board? Your ordinance says that anything that's, any patio that's greater than 12 inches above the adjacent grade is considered building coverage. So they're looking and saying, well, if we regrade that area and make it less than 12 inches, then we're removing that as building coverage. And my concern was, when I first looked at it, was that it was going to be excessive grading. You're going to change runoff, you're going to change drainage patterns, and I didn't see anything on the plans. But I think I'm satisfied that it's a small landscaping. It's just a bunch of topsoil basically put on top.
Is it 12 inches? You've used a number of numbers. First
Yes.
you started with 12, then you went to 14.
12 inches is where above 12, any structure more than 12 inches high counts as building coverage.
Then you
If
said
it-
it was 13,
The-
then you said it
this-
was 14,
this-
and I'm getting concerned that when maybe it's 15.
This patio is about 14, 13 inches above the grade. The grade is not perfectly flat. The patio has a nice crisp edge, but depending on exactly where you measure, this patio counts as building coverage. The simple answer is it's more than 12. It's not much more than 12. It's a couple of inches, maybe. It varies slightly whether their landscaper put the mulch down. You know, it's that kind of thing.
So what your testimony is, the applicant's going to put topsoil there to make it 12 or less?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, to make it less than 12.
So that you can take that credit and use it for building, like, you're not counting that in the building coverage in the proposed 17.54%.
Well, what we
Right.
wanted to do is to find a way to be able to to extend the porch across the front so that the appearance of the house was better. But we had to look for, for any statistic, we try and see what could we eliminate so that the statistics are not higher. In this case, this counts as building coverage now. It's very similar in size to the front porch that we're adding. There is a section of it, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a line that runs here. That's a roof overhang that extends 3 feet over it. That part still counts. I mean, it's just, there are just, with zoning regulations, there are hard lines where it counts or it doesn't count. The area under a roof extension counts as building coverage. Less than 2 feet, nothing counts. Once you go over 2 feet, the whole 2 feet and the rest counts. So this was a way of allowing the statistic to not get bigger. And some of it is that just as a precedent, people should, I think that wherever possible, people should try to make not just the statistics, but just make the situation better, as we're doing with the stormwater runoff. Anyway, I know it's minutia, but that's zoning. And then number 14, the curb I mentioned is only a few inches high. We just didn't want it to be something where a car might sort of roll off toward that side. We did not want it to be something that had a deep foundation, because it would adversely impact the roots of the pine trees and the other things on that side. So anyway, that's, excuse me, that is the presentation. Going back, we need 4 variances. One is the combined side yard is no change, but we are extending a little to the front and to the back. The building coverage increases by 1.25%. It's over by that additional amount. Lot coverage, the statistic remains the same, although we've exchanged, again, in order to do the additions, we took off driveway space in the back behind the house and in the front, and made the driveway a little bit more conforming. And then for floor area ratio, we're 0.86% over the allowable, and a big chunk of that is not only in the garage, but also on the 3rd floor. But I think that overall, this is a really good project for Brett and Amanda and their use of the house. But it also takes an old house. It was added on to 25 years ago. But I think it's important every generation or so to make improvements to houses. That doesn't necessarily mean additions, but in this case, getting the flow right, it really protects this house because it's a big lot, and I would hate to see this house replaced with a new house because well, I like the way that it is. So, and then the positive and negative criteria are listed in the project in the narrative, but I really do think that there's a significant improvement with the stormwater management that helps the adjoining property and the neighborhood in general. And the beautification of the front of this house, I think, is well worth it. I'll just see if anybody has any further questions.
Marie, you have anything else?
No, I don't have any further questions.
Okay, questions from the board?
I have a question regarding the AC.
Yes.
Did you move them to, because I see
Yes.
on the right side, they were relocated closer to the neighbors?
They're in a conforming location now, but they're in front of the house in here where we're expanding the kitchen. We moved them back in to the back of the house over here. There's also a little landing and stairs going out to the back in the very back right corner. We're removing that. It will all be well screened, and we've shown a generator on here as well. The generator meets all of the requirements as well.
The setback
Setback is okay for all of those.
for all of these?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think it was, is there an AC then behind the carriage house? Is that the one that's not
Yes.
conforming?
Right, because the assumption is that a detached garage doesn't need air conditioning. I have no idea when the air conditioning went in there. It's long before Brett and Amanda bought this property. It's supposed to be both right next to the building that it's serving, but and the garage is supposed to be back there. But the garage is non-conforming in a number of ways. We're not doing anything with this.
Is that screened, though? Is that, I mean, I know there's a fence around part of the property, like, do the neighbors see that air conditioning? You know, where there was talk about just granting a variance for that, sort of grandfathering it in, but just you know,
For the
all of the
location.
questions that apply to any other air conditioning unit, right, should apply to that one. Is it screened? Does it impact the neighbors?
That
You know.
area is screened, the border, it has substantial landscaping, but we're also happy to add more if that is
I'm not sure there's room for more, because there are mature trees that run along
Already
back
there,
there.
but-
I can barely see our neighbors now with the leaves gone on the trees,
Okay.
so.
So can that be a condition?
Yes.
We can
Yeah, we'd be
make that
glad
into a
to
condition
landscape
if
and make
that's
sure that
agreeable.
it's,
Sure.
we can't change the or we'd rather not change the location of it, so it'd be good to document that as an existing condition that will continue. But any landscaping that's required around that, we'll be glad to have as a condition of approval.
Right.
And speaking of conditions, I have a question for our attorney. We have the resolution in 1998 clearly says carriage house not be used for residence. We've heard the applicant.
Correct.
Or the architect saying we're not going to use it as a residence. Should we add that as a condition again now? Do we need to do that just to restate it, put it on the record?
We don't, we don't need to since it's in the previous application, but it wouldn't hurt to. There's no barrier to doing so.
Yeah, I would like to, only because, you know, who knows if this resolution got lost somewhere in the files.
Yeah, well, we almost didn't find this one, so. That was
I assume that's okay.
1998.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the requirement is that it has to be continuously used, essentially, and that's interpreted as at least one night every year. But if it goes a full year without somebody spending a night there, once it's gone, it's gone. And this is gone. I think it's been a lot longer than that.
But it's a rec room.
Yeah, I mean, originally, there was probably a chauffeur or a servant who lived up there, but that's way,
That's
way
what
in
you're
the,
using it for
way in
now.
the past.
What are you using it for now?
We just use it as an extra, there's not really a usable basement in the house, so it's used as like a game room by our kids.
Okay. I gather you can wordsmith the appropriate condition.
Not a problem at all.
Okay. Any other questions on the board?
I just have a question, so I understand it better. Well, when you mentioned it was non-conforming, what makes it non-conforming? Just because the garage is not supposed to have one?
For which part, the garage
AC
itself or the air conditioner?
No, the AC that's in the back of the garage.
The air conditioner is not supposed to, no air conditioners are supposed to be that far back on the property, that close to a rear property line. The part of the reason for that, or at least the logic, is that a house can't be way back there, and the air conditioner has to be adjacent to the house. But in this case, an air conditioner was put in there at some point behind there, and it feeds to that room up above.
Okay. Any other questions?
You mentioned the generator, Dave. Where is that located? I
Yeah,
can't
so
find
the generator, let me just blow this up a little
might be
bit. It's
missing
at the
it.
very back right. There were, I think that Krista had mentioned something about either a permit for a generator had been granted or something. It's back here in the back right.
Oh, okay.
And it's just positioned there with the appropriate distance between the generator and the air conditioning units and the generator and the house, and it's conforming with regard to that side yard.
What page is that on the plan? Does that-
This should be V1, but there was a revision
Okay.
that was done, and we submitted that. Sorry, give me a second here. So this one, the version you may have was November 17, and this is dated
Yeah.
December 4th.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't find up the older version.
Yep.
And that's that's all conforming and everything? Out in there's stairs there?
The stairs are gone.
Stairs
The
are
stairs
gone,
will be
okay.
taken, will be removed.
Okay, I see that now.
Yeah, and the
Okay.
door that's there will be removed.
Okay.
More questions from the board? Okay, at this point, I will open it to the public. Are there any members of the public here that wish to ask a question of the architect? Seeing none. Last chance for the board. Um, Any other comments that, well, that you would like to make at this point?
I think we're good. We just want to thank you for the time. Brett said earlier that we're just trying to make this a home that our family can continue to enjoy for years to come. Our children are still young, so.
Okay, then I will one more time open it up to the public, this time for any comments, pro or negative, whatever comments you wish to make on this application. Seeing none, we will move to executive session after conditions and vote totals.
So the vote total for this application is 5 votes as a D4 variance. The conditions are as follows. 1, compliance with the conditions enumerated in the board engineer's memorandum. 2, construction of a stormwater management dry well system sufficient to capture 1,800 square feet of roof runoff. 3, additional screening along the north side of the driveway in accordance with the city forester report. 4, addition of topsoil to regrade a portion of the property surrounding the patio to decrease the difference between the patio and the ground below 12 inches. 5, additional screening for the generator and air conditioner unit parallel to the main property. 6, placement of additional screening surrounding the air conditioner unit for the carriage house. And 7, in accordance with the previous resolution of the board dated December 7th, 1998, the carriage house shall not be utilized as a residence. That's it.
Okay, those are them. Who would like to open up the discussion on this application?
Oh, I'm happy to jump in.
Go for it.
Certainly, I can support this. Looking at the exterior, the kitchen side of the house really does look like it was slapped on. And towards the back, the lines of that side of the house are kind of crazy. I think that this evens it all out. It makes the house much more coherent. So it does add to the neighborhood, promotes the purposes of the zoning law. And Mr. Rosen, I appreciate that you're doing some horse trading with lot coverage. There is a lot of driveway, and so removing some of that, I think is very useful. So I can certainly support this application.
Okay, anyone else?
This is, I commend the effort maintaining such a beautiful house. And I think that maintaining the integrity between the older house and the other section of it is also commendable. I certainly support this application.
Yeah, I can support it too. I just want to add a thank you to the applicant for adding stormwater management even when none was needed. I mean, we'd like to see, if you can improve it, that's great. At best, you can't make it worse, but you're actually improving any stormwater issues there might be, so that's a definite positive. And for all the reasons my colleagues have cited, I can support it as well.
Yeah, that was one of the main issues that I came up with, was doing more than you had to do on the storm issue, on the stormwater. And, again, I'm usually doing the positives and negatives, but David's done it for me, so all of them are here and are important for us to look at as we consider this one. And based upon all of the remarks made in executive session and the testimony heard, I would look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loikitz,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Ms. Zahn,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Ms. Toth.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you very
all.
much. Congratulations.
Good luck with your project. At this point, we're going to take a 10-minute recess so that Mr. Rosen's voice can rest, and then we will come back.
10 minutes?
What? 10 minutes. 10 whole minutes. You want 5?
5.
5. Okay, 9:03.
9:03 it is.
Sorry.
We will reconvene. It's now 9:03, and we will start the next case on our agenda,
You can't do that until the next month. Thanks.
which are Stephen and Solange Burgermeister at 19 Oakley. Would you swear in our applicants, please?
Please raise your right hands. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your first names and spell your last names for the record.
Sure. Steve Burgermeister, Burgermeister.
Solange Burgermeister, Burgermeister.
Thank you.
Okay, if you could give us an overview of what the project is and what the variances are that you hope to accomplish here tonight, before you turn it over to David to bring us all the good information.
We moved to Summit from the city in 2018 in a small Cape Cod on the other side of town. Promptly had 2 more kids to bring the grand total to 3, and went about looking for, our forever home. So we found, 19 Oakley Ave, bought it in May, and the goal of this project is really twofold. First, on the first floor, we're looking to expand out a little bit off the beautiful kitchen that made us fall in love with the house, to have a play area for the three kids. In the current setup, there's not really a good place for them on the first floor where we can kind of keep a watchful eye on them. And then on the second floor, we wanted to the rooms are kind of irregularly sized, so we wanted to kind of straighten all those out, give each kid a room and a primary for ourselves. So with that, I'll turn it over to David to explain the...
Okay, any questions for the applicants from the board? Okay. The record will show that we've accepted your credentials and that you were sworn earlier in the evening, so I think we can avoid all of that.
All right.
And let you take over.
early. Okay, thank you. This is 19 Oakley. There's the picture of the house. Again, this was taken in June, and but it does show it shows this house. The kitchen that Stephen mentioned is part of an addition that we had done on the back of this house. I'm not sure when it was, 15 years ago, and for a prior owner. And at that time, we had considered whether to do a variety of other things. That owner at that time had just one child and didn't need additional bedrooms and so on. And they didn't really need some of the things that are more desirable when there are 3 boys running around rather than just one. So this is the front of the house, and I'm just going to go around just so that you can see. And I know you've all been to the site, but across the street is part of Wilson Park. So there aren't neighbors directly across the street. But even with even though there's nobody there, we tried to make sure that there are a lot of people who walk their dogs or just walk on this block. And we wanted to make sure that we didn't change the streetscape at all. So this is the way it looks now. This is the way it will look when it's back to June again. There are only a few very slight things that we're doing in the front. One is to just slightly widen the driveway. There's no variance for that, but that is just for practical purposes so people can get out of the car and not step on the curb and possibly twist their ankles. Anyway, just taking a look at some of the other parts of the house. This is a sort of a wide angle, let me see, sort of a wide angle view of the back. So I'm just going to go in much closer so that the distortion is less in the center. What we're proposing to do is to add on to the back of the house over to about where the red umbrella is, so that in this space between the existing breakfast area and then looking at this toward the left, to expand the breakfast area, not so much as a separate room, but we called it a family room on the drawings because that's the best, the best name for it. But the proposal is to do that in an area that's currently patio. And again, since we seem to always talk about air conditioners, there is one in the center here, and we would relocate that. We also will, the patio will be in the back of the house, sort of outside of these doors. Currently, there are doors on the side, I'll show you that in a moment, which look out and provide access to the patio where the table, where that umbrella is now. But the patio will be significantly reduced in size and moved just to behind the house. We also will be removing a portion of the driveway over here. And the reasons for some of these changes is with the increase in the size of the footprint of the house, we wanted to make sure that we were not building sort of too much. This view shows the house, and the house that is in the photo, it's to the right, but from the street, it's to the left. And you can see that that house, which actually, as I understand it, is from the 1800s and was moved to this site, that has the main body of the house and then an extension toward the back with a two-story piece. And this is the next-door neighbor's garage. Just continuing around, just wanted to show you the back of this property. I already mentioned that there isn't, let me just get back here. This is the back of the property, and what it shows is that there's quite a tall hedge of, I don't know if they're arborvitae or Leland cypress, but it's an evergreen hedge that's quite tall, and you can get an idea of how tall the landscaper is and what they were able to trim. And then there are, on both sides of the rear of the property, there are hedges. The hedges are a little bit old. They're in pretty good shape. They're not perfect. But this is a view showing the back of the property over here, and then the hedge, which is sort of toward the neighbor to the right, as you see it from the street. There's the hedges over there, providing a nice buffer between the Burgermeister's property and the property next door and their driveway and garage. Just continuing around the property. Let's see. Okay, so the last image that I have is a few things. One is sort of straight on to the properties on each side, so that you can see that the main body of the house, there's a two-story piece in the house to the right, and then it extends out to a one-story, and the house on the left has the really nice, more Victorian 1800s kind of house, and then with an addition, a two-story addition at the back. When we look at the aerial view, this is Stephen and Solange's house, and you can see the form, the roof lines of each, even at this scale. You can see on each of the houses, you see the main roof line, and then for each of them, there's an addition that goes out to the back. In some cases, it's one story. In some cases, it's two-story, like the ones that are on both sides here. But in each of these, what people have done is they've done something really nice for the neighborhood. They've kept the streetscape the same. They've kept the scale of the house and the sense when you walk down the street. It feels very consistent. It feels really nice. It's got just a really good scale, I think, to the whole street. And the expansion of the houses is to the back. And as you can see sort of a little bit in some of these views on the side, there are a lot of trees, bushes, and so on, in between the houses that are on Oakley and the houses behind them on Fairview. And it shows a little bit in here. It's a little hard to see, but that's the case. And many of these houses have the driveways that extend toward the back, so that of these houses, this one has a garage facing forward, but most of the others, the cars are around back, which also adds a lot to the feeling when you're on the street, because you're not seeing all the cars out in front. The cars are generally around back. It does take up more lot coverage to do that, but there is a nice benefit to the sense of the perception of the neighborhood on the street, and that's one of the reasons I think a lot of people are walking along here. Looking at the project narrative which I described, we need 3 variances. There are 4 listed here because I wanted to make sure that Krista Anderson got a view of the combined side yard. Right now, the house is wider, and she mentions that the side yards are not compliant for the current ordinance, but again, with a nice bit of history that she's put into some of her recent reviews, she was saying that back when it was built, it was supposed to have a combined side yards, I think, of 15 feet. Anyway, so the existing is 14 and a half. There was some question about what the numbers are at the addition. It's actually at the addition in the back, because we're no longer dealing with the garage on one side and the sort of enclosed porch on the right side. It's actually 35% is required, and 54.8 is what we're providing. So there isn't a variance for a combined side yard. The question for Krista was whether there's a tiny sliver that might count depending on exactly where she drew the line. She decided that we did not need the side yard combined variance. Building coverage allowable is 18. It's currently just under that, and we're going over by 1.7%. And the building coverage is because of the first floor of the proposed addition. Then lot coverage is allowed to be 35%. It is 39.7. We've kept it exactly at 39.7, no increase. But what we're doing is a little bit different. We are putting the addition where there is currently patio, but there's a little bit of area that's not patio. And so we've shaved off a piece on the driveway, and we've modified a few other things in order to keep that number the same. We are, however, providing a substantial amount of stormwater management on this. Again, it was not required because the threshold, I think, is at 300 square feet?
Correct.
Yeah, and we're not adding any coverage. But we are adding building coverage, and maybe somebody could consider that with basement, maybe there's less ability for the soil to absorb some of that rainwater. In any case, we are providing space not only for, there's no increase, so that none is required. The addition is a couple hundred square feet of, I think it's 225 square feet of new house in place of patio and so on. So we're not just doing that. We're not going back the 500 sort of square feet to the 35%. We're putting in a tank with surrounding gravel that will take care of 1,000 square feet of roof water. So we're taking the whole back of the house and putting it into the dry well. And some of this was inspired by Mr. Crockett, the next door neighbor. Right? Did I get your name right? Yes, okay, good. We had met with Mr. and Mrs. Crockett, the neighbors. When you face the house, it's to the right. A week and a half ago at the Burgermeister's house, and he had mentioned a concern about whether his basement might get flooded. And I checked on Andrew Clark's engineering drawing, and because no stormwater management was required, he had not provided any. So then I called him up and said, provide it, because it's a good thing to do, and I was concerned that on a relatively flat piece of property, I wasn't sure exactly where the water might go, but if a lot of roof water was perhaps discharged toward either of the neighbors' sides, I wanted to make sure that we were not causing a problem. So I told Andrew Clark to do it. He then did. The drawings are here. They were sent to Stephanie, and then she forwarded them to Marie. So we have 1,000 square feet of roof area, essentially the whole back of the house, going to a new dry well, which will be in the backyard. And the last item here is floor area ratio. The property is in the R10 zone. All of the adjoining properties are exactly 10,000. This one is just a hair under 9,975, but call it 10,000. The allowable is 25%. The existing is 22.4, and the proposed is 3.9% over, so 28.9. And when we were working on the project, we tried a variety of different configurations. At one point, we had the house sort of going straight up, but it felt more bulky, it felt more massive, and this number was a lot higher. So we sort of pared back in a number of areas, and I can show you on the floor plan, or you've probably already seen, that on the second floor, it's much smaller. Well, the additional part does not fully cover the kitchen, breakfast area, and family room. And we got it to look, I think, really nice. And anyway, I think that it was an important part of this project to try and contain that. I think we were over 30% on one of the early drawings, and that just didn't even sound particularly good. Just in going through some of these, Chris Anderson had commented about the side yards. So we're not changing that, the combined side yard. There's no variance for that. The building coverage is over by 1.7%. Again, I've covered most of that. We did put the addition completely in the back, and it's set in on both sides from not only the full width of the house, but none of it is visible sort of straight on. In that first photo that I showed, it will look identical to that. And that is part of the pattern of what others have done in this neighborhood. And I think it's a really good way to do it. There is room in the backyard. There are no setback issues on this, on the addition for anything new. Some of the existing, I had mentioned the side yards. But anyway, moving on, the lot coverage, we have the existing coverage is non-conforming. We have stuck with that same number. We're providing the stormwater management and the floor area ratio I have described. Just in terms of some of the criteria, it is one of the main ones that's often cited is promotion of a desirable visual environment. That just means it looks nice, and I think that this one does. It is really unusually screened. Nobody in any of the houses that I can't think of anybody on Fairview that could see this because of the height of that big hedge. And on the two sides, There are hedges, but they're not great if we need to either replace something or if something gets damaged in construction by somebody just backing into it, then we could have as a condition of approval that the hedge is maintained, and we can talk more specifically about any requirements of what it is, or whether if it's arborvitae, then it's year-round and that kind of thing. So extraordinarily well-screened, and no neighbors directly across the street. So on the negative side, there isn't anything that would cause this to damage the perception of the neighborhood, or to do anything close to substantial detriment of the public good. So that's that part. Now let me just, Krista's comments are all pretty much the same. And then just moving through some of the other comments, there really wasn't, I'll get to the engineering in a moment, but there really wasn't much more other than John Linson's comments that the proposed improvements are well screened with landscaping, no objection, and then the comment by the Historic Preservation Commission. The proposed addition is of appropriate scale and matches the existing structure, and is also confined to the rear of the house, no objections. The drawings before and after, the only difference on this is that I put some color on, but I just want to go back and show some of the other views. This is on the driveway side, and you can see in the upper left of the existing, this is where the addition would be. This is that addition. It's directly over the kitchen. And then just looking at, the back of the house. Looking at the back of the house, the existing kitchen is this peak, this part in here, and we've just raised that up to 2 stories. Then there's a slight recess, and then the bedroom, the new bedroom that we're adding is back here. These doors are going to be relocated. They currently face toward the side, so they face toward the neighbor to the right. We're repositioning them around to the back so that the connection is better that way, providing a little more privacy. 1 or 2 other minor things. We're adding a door so that you can get from the driveway directly into the mudroom rather than having to go through the garage. On the floor plan, let me just go to the first floor. So the first floor, there's an addition back in the back with kitchen and a breakfast area, and the proposed, and I know it has color on it, but this area that has this rectangle in here is the new space. We call it a family room, but it's all sort of one room in the back, and it will have, instead of a window in the back of the living room, there are doors to get the flow to be nice. And then on the second floor, in the area approximately where this blue rectangle is, that's about where the addition is going, and more specifically, it's back here. It's the closet and bathroom, and about 2/3 or 3/4 of the bedroom, of the new bedroom. So the line out here is the extent of the first floor. This part is the same, but then we come way in from there in order to have it, to sort of pull that back a little bit. Because of the floor area ratio, we got information. This is just a diagram that's similar to that Google view. So it shows the houses, just the outlines, and we got the information from the Summit Tax Department, the tax assessor's office, to see what the other houses are. And so I don't know whether, Stephanie, was this entered into?
No.
I think that this will be an exhibit, and I have,
Yes, please.
And what this has is this same diagram and then the tax assessor's information. And the tax assessor gives the square footage of the property. Since these properties are all exactly 10,000 square feet, the arithmetic is quite easy. But it shows, I thought it was quite helpful to see how big the other houses are. And what we find is that the Stephen and Solange's house currently is 22.4% in floor area ratio and is going to 22.8. The house to the right is 23%. The next one to the right is 28.1, so very similar to the house that of what our proposal is. The house to the left has a floor area ratio, according to the Summit tax assessor, of 33.6%, and then 21, and then just a little over 25. So right now, out of these 6 houses, 3 of them are conforming, 3 are not. And when it's done, the house that we have goes from the conforming to being one of the 4 out of the 6 that have a higher floor area ratio. I'm just showing that so that you get a sense as to whether this is compatible with the neighborhood. I already talked about the streetscape and the feeling, and you can't really perceive it from the front on this house or on any of the other ones, but I just wanted to get some of the facts on that. We already covered some of this. And then just to, I know that these engineering drawings are illegible, but I'm going to come way in on this so you can get a sense of this. The area of the addition is shown here, and the proposal is to take all of the roof water that comes off from the main ridge back, and to take all of that and to put it in a new dry well that would be that'll be in the backyard. We can determine where that goes exactly, but it's more convenient to put it there. There are also, there's an existing gutter at the front of the garage that goes out to the street, and there's a little drain in the lawn that comes along the right side of the house and goes out to the street as well. The one on the garage will stay. The other one we're taking that drain out, but we could connect. The intention is to put all of that into the dry well. Again, we're not required to have any. We're picking up 1,000 square feet. Just for the prior thing that I was just showing, this is an example of what the tax office has. It just has a diagram, and it's, again, hard to see, but it has the dimensions on each of these. And so this just runs through those various houses, the 6, and it indicates on the left side some of the information, and then the square footages and the floor area ratio can be determined. And in this case, it seems pretty accurate. It seems like the number that they have for Stephen and Solange's house is pretty similar. Not exactly the same, but it's pretty similar to what we had calculated. Anyway, so that's the presentation, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I have a question about the lot.
First, we normally start with our professionals.
Okay. Do we need to identify this as an exhibit, since it was submitted just a few days ago? So, did the board even get to see this
No.
engineering drawing?
I did email it.
Okay.
But I didn't print it because I wouldn't be able to print it to scale. It wouldn't be readable, so that's why, yeah.
So that is then what,
So that would be A2.
A2?
I need my microscope to read it.
So the only difference on that submitted new lot grading plan was
Stormwater
stormwater
management
management
system,
was on there,
yes.
right?
The calculations are in there. There is a detail that shows the size and the layout. It's just a 6-foot diameter perforated concrete tank, 3 feet tall, and it goes in, they dig a hole, put a soil fabric in, there's a couple feet of gravel below, there's a couple feet on the sides, and it is, it has all of the components that you've mentioned with the lockable cap on the top.
So let me talk about the lockable cap on it, because the way the plan shows it, it shows it as a grate, which would indicate to me that it's collecting water from
Right.
the ground.
I asked Andrew Clark about that. Why does it say grate? And he said that's just the term that's used for that top.
Okay.
It is not, there's no access into there. It's a solid Campbell Foundry cover.
Okay, all right. So obviously, all of the stormwater calculations were not in my letter that I put in. So I took a look at it, but I am satisfied that it's correctly sized, so I don't have a problem with that. It didn't indicate on the plan where it was collecting the 1,000 square feet of impervious coverage, but I just did a quick scaling on the map, on the plan just now, and it does look like the back of the house is about 1,000 square feet,
Yes.
so that makes sense. There's that lawn inlet that's at the rear of the house.
Yes.
Is that, you said that that's going to come out, you think?
I think the addition is either, yes, it's going to come out, because either the addition or the size of the excavation to get the foundations in, it's going to be in the way.
Okay.
So we can determine what to do with that. Right now, it collects, I suppose, some water that comes off of the patio. It doesn't have, it's not supposed to have roof water directly into it, but it goes out, 4-inch pipe out to the curb. Whatever your best advice is on what to do with that. But the grate itself was not going to stay.
Okay, so right now, I think the way the plan shows it is that any overage from that seepage pit is going to go into that existing 4-inch PVC pipe that's gonna go out through the curb.
Right, and we could.
So that'll still be
right.
the same?
I would assume that that's the same. I'll just say yes, because even if it wasn't shown, that's the right way to do it. So that we can keep a grate where water can come from the lawn into there. Usually I'm not crazy about that, because I think they fill up with dirt and leaves and acorns and everything else. So I think that it's probably, we would keep the pipe coming out to the street as part of the overflow, but we're taking a lot of water with 1,000 square feet. Again, none required, but yeah. We can do whatever you recommend on that.
I was just looking for clarity on it. I just wanted to make sure that I understood where the water was going. The front of the house appears that they're going into the PVC pipes that are daylighting out at the
Yes.
curb. That's currently where they go, and they'll continue.
I know that the one
doing
on the
that?
garage side, which is the left side in this drawing behind that big bush, that goes out to the street. I don't know whether the leader over here, whether that goes into the ground and into that same one that comes from the lawn grate and then out to the street. I just don't know where that goes.
Okay. Let's see. There's something, there's a reference, I'm sorry. go
That
ahead.
sounds to me like we're not quite sure what, so should there be a condition that the final plan meets your approval?
I would like to see
Sure.
some clarity on it. I appreciate
Because
the
I
efforts of
don't
putting
think
in
we-
the dry
you know.
well, but I'm not exactly sure where everything's going. But it's, the only thing that I look at is say, well, it's working right now, right? I mean, if they didn't change anything and didn't even propose to put in a dry well, it would still be
Yes, they're
working
doing
the way it
extra,
is.
more, et
Right.
cetera, that, if they only get 900 instead of 1,000, that nobody's it's still more.
That's right.
But let's make sure the design does what we want it to do.
That's fine. I would, if you're okay with that, I would be happy to.
As long as the applicant.
Yeah, I think that's fine to have a condition that the stormwater management plan is reviewed and needs to be approved by the engineer.
And I think this is probably a typo, but I just wanted to clarify that on the drawing for the seepage pit, it talks about, maybe it's the seepage pit itself. It's the downspout from the house. It references the dwelling and the pool house. Is that, the pool house is just a typo, right? There is no
Pool
proposed?
house, there is no pool, there's none of that.
Just wanted to check.
The only thing there is.
Take the typo out.
Is that a week ago, I told Andrew Clark, give me something.
Right.
Because we'll need it for this meeting.
Good. All right, so if there's some housekeeping things that we could improve on the plan, then we'll just take care of that.
First thing is
I know
we'll
that's small, but I just.
clean up that pool
I just want
house,
to make sure
yeah.
that wasn't on there.
Correct.
And I want to confirm that there's not going to be any plantings that are going to be over the top of that dry well that would interfere with, any root systems getting into that.
Correct.
And-
Yeah, it's in the lawn on the back. It'll be in the lawn in the backyard. Because of their 3 boys, when they're really little, they'll play in the backyard. After that, they go across the street when they can run around a little bit more independently. But there won't be trees planted anywhere in the immediate vicinity of the dry well.
I think that's all I have at this time.
Okay, board members. There was one down here.
Oh, yeah, I just had a question about the lot coverage from, looking at the grading plan.
Yes.
It says, existing rear walk patios, 450 square feet, and then when you remove and replace some, 345 square feet. Is the stepping stone walkway included, are the stones in that included in the 345 feet? Because they're,
They should be, yes.
Just wasn't clear on that, because it looks like, we're swapping driveway for stepping stone, which
There's-
is not entirely impervious. I mean, it's not it's partially impervious. So-
Yeah, we usually count all of that, and we usually count it as if it was solid the whole way through, just because
Yeah, the little.
I don't want to quibble about whether somebody puts in the wrong size stepping stone.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, and that's in an area that is, I believe is currently driveway right now.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions from the board? Yes, Don.
It's actually me.
Oh, I'm sorry. It looked like his arm.
Okay. Yeah, so you're mentioning Chris's history lessons. Does the applicant want to ask for variance for those two the
Combined
setback-
side yard?
Setback and the driveway being right on the property line? She suggests you might want to. My personal preference is always to clean this up if we can.
I think it's fine to acknowledge that, however you want
Whatever the right
to
word
put it
is.
in the record.
No,
Yeah.
that's acceptable. We can go with that.
Yeah, the only other thing on the history lesson is I believe the house was built in 1932, not 23.
Well, either way, it's after 1922 when the first.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in the 30s, everything was sort of made a little bit more modest. The ceiling heights came down a little bit. There was not a lot of extra detail, not big roof overhangs. All kinds of things were very carefully done in the 1930s. It feels more like a 1930s house. 1920s houses tend to be a little more optimistic, that the good times will go forever.
Interesting.
By the 30s, they had a better idea of that.
You think that changed around 1929?
It could be, maybe fall.
Something might have
sometime,
happened.
yeah.
Yes.
I have a question about the area in the back where you're taking away part of the paved driveway.
Yes.
And so there's the one that you're replacing it with stepping stone walk, and the other part, that one area, like right behind the kitchen, that you're moving that. Was that driveway shaped like that, just to maneuver the cars into into the garage. I would think that that would be needed for like, to do like a K-turn into the garage.
I think it was a smaller driveway originally, and then it was expanded a bit when the driveway was redone 15 years ago. I think that the driveway paver, the guy who did the paving said, well, this will be more comfortable and make it a little bigger. But I think that that's when it became that size. I don't think it's critical. We've discussed this, and the conclusion was that they'll make it work. It is not critical. You may have to do one more backing up and driving forward in order to get the car from in the garage out, and, well, actually leaving is pretty easy, assuming you drive straight in the garage. You come straight out and then go out the driveway. It's coming in, there's one more turn to get that in there. With the number of kids they have, I suspect that part of that, I think it'll be one car will be in there, and then there'll be bikes and all kinds of things in there.
But it's still going to be a usable garage.
It's a fully
driveway
usable,
for
yes,
the
it's a
next-
fully usable
The next
garage.
owners just don't want to.
Yeah, right.
Any other questions? Okay, at this time, I would open it up to the public for questions at this time. Questions, please come forward. Yeah, you have to use the microphone. Please state your name and your address, spell your last name.
Ingrid Carlbom, that's Carlbom, 21 Oakley Avenue. So we are the other neighbors in the old house from 1852. In addition from 1878, I think. Anyway, so I have a question just about this dry well. We have an oak tree that we actually share between the two properties that we nurse along and feed and cable and really care for a lot. And I'm concerned when we digging out for the dry well that we could destroy the roots of that tree. And I think that's something we should consider. I mean, I don't know much, but we value that tree, and I know you like it too, so we want to keep it healthy.
David, go ahead.
Yeah, so this tree is in the
Next
right
to garage.
on this photo. I'm just going to get a little closer. That's the tree. It's next to your garage.
Garage, right.
Right.
And it kind of spreads.
And we're planning to put the dry well, sorry, I can't see it very well, but it's back here, behind the current breakfast
okay.
area.
So quite a distance.
It's a long way away
Okay.
from that. We were concerned about that. That's a beautiful tree,
Mhm.
and it's more of a specimen tree where it's not one of 20 there. It's an important tree.
Okay.
Totally
So-
agree.
That sounds good.
Great.
Thank you.
Is there a point to ask Mr. Linson to review the plans? I mean, it does seem like it's far enough away that it couldn't possibly interfere, but is it worthwhile asking the forester to review?
We could, if that's, except that, so let's put a condition in there that the position of the dry well will be reviewed by Mr. Linson. Yes, sir, please come forward.
Hi, I'm Tom Marzetta, also 21 Oakley Avenue. It was more a question of just curiosity. That's clay everywhere. The trees, most of the trees have surface roots because they just can't dig through the clay. I'm just curious as to, in a really heavy rainstorm, does the dry well fill up, and then how long does it take before it drains through the clay?
Yeah, this is another excellent question. Andrew Clark and I were talking about this. I don't know the conditions of the soil as well as you would know living there. And there are properties nearby that are clay. There are some that are sand. I just don't know. But would you like to describe the usual process, or should I take a shot at it and then you can correct me?
Well, I'll confirm that I did look at that. That's something I would normally take a look at on a plan when they suggest that they're putting in a dry well, to make sure that they have a note on the plan saying that they're going to do a soil test. And that is on the plan, that they're going to do a percolation test before the dry well is constructed, and then those results will be reviewed. And if it's unsuitable, then they have to either modify the location or maybe even the size. There's different kinds of dry wells that they can do that maybe are a little more shallow so that they wouldn't be going into the clay area.
Right, so the stormwater management, the idea is to slow down when it rains heavily, to capture that water, slow it down, and let it seep into the soil, just so that everybody is not flooded, and whoever lives in Wayne, New Jersey, with all those boats that we see on the news, that they don't have the problem. So you're right that if the soil is clay, it's usually not clay right at the surface, but it goes down a distance. The dry well that is proposed has a cover of sort of soil and grass and so on of at least a foot, I think. And then the system itself goes another 5 feet. Before every dry well is put in, there has to be a test of the soil to see whether that system will work. If that system won't work, then there are other kinds of systems that may not be as deep. There are some that are more shallow, that spread out, and they can still work if the water comes in, is held for a period of time, and then released into the soil over a longer period of time to avoid sudden flooding downstream. If that really didn't work, the way that the trees are and so on might be a little bit different, because trees like that nice oak tree don't really grow very successfully in just if it's clay all the way up. But anyway, so we would have to present a revised system that gets approved by Summit's engineer.
So the neighbors can be assured that they will get a working system before this happens.
Yes.
Yep.
And you mentioned that there would be overflow to the,
The overflow goes to the
the system would
street.
also have an overflow to the street already. You were saying you were tying that in? Is
Right,
that-
but the overflow is at the top of the system, so it has to fill first.
Right, right.
And then it would go out to the street.
But to the extent that if you didn't have the percolation or whatever, even if you kept that, you would still have the overflow to sort of prevent that, right, issue of having it flood out.
Right, it will
into the
not
neighbor's
flood
yard.
the immediate area.
Right.
The immediate neighbors, their situation is probably improved, because where the water is landing on the whole back part of the house that currently may go into the lawn or whatever, all of that is being diverted. It still goes into the soil, it just doesn't go rapidly and flow away in a heavy storm. It's in the soil and then it percolates out so that it's better for people downstream and for that property.
Okay. Any other questions from the public?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Questions from the public? Seeing none, at this point, we will open it to the public for comments. This is the time where you get to tell us what you think of the project, if you wish to. Seeing none, we go back to you for any final comments that you may have.
Yeah, just again, thank you for your time. We really think that this project will, benefit us as a family as we live there and make use of the house, maintain the character of the street, and, in terms of the stormwater, help improve, in case of any, heavy, heavier rains, which we're seeing more and more often now.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we turn to our attorney for conditions and the vote requirement.
Excuse me, Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
before we move on, I wanted to ask Mr. Rosen, this stormwater catch basin is not required. You're putting it in as an. you're
Right,
putting it
this
in
is an
because-
extra.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a D variance, a D4 variance, this vote requires 5 votes. The conditions are as follows. Number 1 is compliance with the conditions listed in the board engineer's memorandum. 2 is construction of a stormwater management dry well system sufficient to capture 1,000 square feet of roof runoff. 3, the stormwater management plan shall be reviewed and approved by the board engineer. 4, the hedges located along the side yard of the property shall be maintained. And 5, the position of the dry well shall be reviewed by Mr. Linson, City Forester.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, just to add that the hedges will be maintained, but in the event that they are damaged, they will be replaced.
And in the event that they are damaged, they should be replaced, yes.
Okay, who would like to start deliberations?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
I'm in support of this. I think it's a modest, addition that's going to really help your family and give you the home that you want. I appreciate, having driven by your house, you have a very, obviously, the garage is right next to the driveway, is right next to the neighbor's property line. So you have not a lot of room to play with and where you would put the addition, and I think it was, very well done so that it's discreet and you'll have the benefit, but it's not, as you said, it's not impacting anyone else's view from the street, or even probably your neighbor's view to that extent will be nice, so I'm in support.
Yeah, I just want to say that you're keeping the additions and the work in character with the neighborhood, and you are going a little bit above and beyond what's required as far as the stormwater basin, catch basin. So I support the project.
Anyone from this side?
Well, let's see, we should say that the property can support, that the property can handle the addition, although it is going over floor area ratio. What other criteria do we need to demonstrate for you, Zach?
I think you've got the positive criteria down.
There actually are no negatives as we look at it. And that's, it's across the street from an open lot, and providing there should be no other issues as long as people follow the speed limit. The kids will be fine. And I think the community will support. Will like having this project across the street from where they recreate. Any other comments? If not, I would accept the motion to approve.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz,
Yes.
Mr. Yuko,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Ms. Zahn,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Ms. Toth.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you all, and thank you, and good luck with your project.
Thank you very much for your time and your care in going through all of these.
We have a little bit of administrative business to continue. Stephanie, you have resolutions, minutes, and a calendar idea,
Yes,
training idea.
yes.
So everybody listen.
Okay, so the first resolution we have is 38 Ascot Way. That's ZB-23-2211, Joe and Megan Delcrete, Block 4401, Lot 40. The eligible voting members are Chairman Steiner, Mr. Malay, and Vice Chairman Loiketz. Can we have a motion? Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay. Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz.
Yes.
The motion carries. The next resolution we have is 99 Woodland Avenue. That's ZB-23-2210, Andrew Hausman and Amy Schiffer, Block 1202, Lot 8. The eligible voting members are Chairman Steiner, Mr. Malay, and Vice Chairman Loiketz. Would someone like to move that?
So moved.
And-
Second.
Okay. Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz.
Yes.
The motion carries. The next one we have is 32 Edison Drive, ZB-23-2213, Audrey Lowe and Anthony Pantages, Block 3910, Lot 15. The eligible voting members are Chairman Steiner, Mr. Malay, and Vice Chairman Loiketz. Would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz.
Yes.
The motion carries. And our final one is 45 Templar Way, ZB-23-2215, James, Daniel, and Kathleen Tyrell, Block 2405, Lot 7. The eligible voting members are Chairman Steiner, Mr. Malay, and Vice Chairman Loiketz. Can we have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Okay. Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Loiketz.
Yes.
The motion carries. And then finally, we have our minutes for approval. Those minutes are from January 4th, 2023. Can I have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Okay. So we can do a voice vote, but we will exclude anyone who was excused that evening, which was only Mr. Yuko. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. And then, as Mr. Steiner mentioned, we do have a training opportunity. I was talking to Krista Anderson this afternoon, and she thought that it would be beneficial for some of our new members to receive some training from her. And then she was also speaking about maybe involving one of our city engineers to also do the training. It could be for new members or anyone who really wants to attend. She thought maybe she could do it at some point in the afternoon, or if you wanted to come maybe an hour ahead of the next meeting, we could do it then. So just a little feedback. What do you think as far as availability or interest?
I'm interested and I'm available either way. Not that it makes it easier for you. but-
Makes it real easy. From the new members, how many would be available at an hour before that, which would be
So let's say
6:30 before the next meeting?
What is the date of the next meeting?
Fifth.
Fifth. Yeah, okay.
February 5th?
Yep.
So, Mr. Steiner, you wanted to do 6:30 as opposed to 6, because I thought you said maybe
No,
11.
I was thinking an hour, so, okay. How many would prefer 6 versus 6:30?
Just so that there would be a little bit of time to breathe.
Will there be pizza?
I will provide pizza if that's what it takes.
Oh, I'm coming then.
And by the way, it's open to everybody. I'm just asking the new members
Yeah.
because they're the ones that I think may struggle with some of this stuff, so.
I'm available.
Okay, 6,
Fine for me.
6:30?
6 is fine.
6 is fine. 6 it is.
Okay.
Okay, and then we'll take a little break afterwards to, for those reasons. And I thank you all. I don't know if that needs to be posted or
And that'll be in this room?
announced or whatever. Not going to take any action or anything.
Or I guess you'll let us know.
Find out, and if we have to, we will. Can I have a motion to post if needed?
Make a motion to post if needed. How's that?
Thank you.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. Okay. The last thing on the agenda is the annual report. Last year, we did the annual report in October. It's a little late in the year. I have had a conversation, I think I said this last time, I had a conversation with the council president, and she has asked that we present to the council, because she's asking every committee chair to do this, and she would like us to do it just about at the end of the first quarter. So we have until April, and I thought that having the annual report there would be a good idea. And I asked Scott to take the job.
All right. Sounds good to me.
So what you need to do is, those of us who have been on it for a while, read what it is that we've looked at, and hopefully staff will look at it, and our professionals will look at it as well, and see do any of them still make sense? Do we still feel this way about those things that we've presented in the past? And are there new things that we want to add to the list of things that we are asking the planning board and the city council to consider?
Are we going to get a 23 version of this?
This is,
This is 22.
that is,
It's,
that
we're
is
always,
23.
yeah, we're always behind the year.
We're always,
But
yeah.
Yeah.
The
But if we're
22
doing
was
This is the
presented.
last one
Yeah.
created.
Yes,
right?
that was the last one created,
Yeah.
so the next one will be
But
23.
wasn't that based, but that was based on this 22 list of cases.
Right, that's, right.
So we're getting a
When are we
23.
going to get the one that you're preparing, that
So
is
you
December?
said by April they want it?
But no, but we need it to be able to
Yes,
look
I
at our
know,
things.
so I'm saying how far in advance would you want?
No,
Um,
not the report, just this
The spreadsheet.
Excel
The
spreadsheet of
I understand.
cases.
So, yeah. how-
I'm assuming you kept that was kept all along, so it's just a matter of the last few entries.
Well, I haven't redone the report, yeah, I would just have to, it
Okay.
doesn't take very long to do.
Okay, so whenever Scott wants it. Which I,
Can you get it by next meeting?
My next meeting? Sure.
Okay.
all right, any other business comments?
So you just wanted shooting ideas to Scott, basically?
Just shoot to Scott.
Send them my way.
Oh, boy.
We have somebody now about that?
No, I followed up with them today. I haven't heard back. I requested it 2 weeks ago. so-
It took me more than
I'm
2
sorry, I
years.
missed the question.
I have some emails.
Hang on.
The City of Summit email address.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, we will follow up on that.
No, I'm just wondering.
I don't have
I have
one.
no problem using my personal email. I
Yeah.
just know there's-
No,
Well-
everyone will have it.
Okay.
I have a question. So you were talking about these, like the proposals, the recommendations. Am I allowed to do a
Yes.
recommendation? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
absolutely.
Everybody is, I just.
Even though it's 2022?
You can, yes,
Okay. And I'm going to send it to?
Scott.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
okay. We are,
And
our
also,
next,
if someone feels strongly about taking one of them out, please let that be known too, right? If something doesn't feel relevant anymore, I think that's fair game as well.
yep.
Sorry, sir.
Oh, fine, thank you. Okay. Next meeting is now either at 6 or 7:30, or it's either 6 for the meeting or 7:30 for the meeting with training at 6. And we are on February the 5th, 2024, and we are adjourned.
Well, you need a motion?
Yes.
She wants
So
one.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Please leave. That's my line. All those in favor, please leave.